Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the ultimate Star Wars Vintage Collection podcast, Wretched Hive, with your host, only Kenobi.
Hello there, this is Only One Kenobi, only one, and this is a special episode of the Wretched Hive. Joining me again as a guest, special guest, Tim for Bossk's Bounty. Hello, Tim.
Hello there.
I love it. That's really funny. Oh, Tim, how are you, man? I've been dying to talk to you. You've just come back from Galaxy's Edge, and we've got the Rise of Skywalker to talk about, and anything else that sort of tickles our fancy, really. So, does that sound good with you?
Very good, very good. I would say that I'm really well, but I've been a bit poorly since I've been back. Obviously, I caught something off the plane, as you do.
Oh, no way.
So I've had a bit of a sore throat and what have you, but I'm all good. And, yeah, Galaxy's Edge, amazing.
Awesome. Do you know what? That was one of my biggest worries. I went to Florida in the summer, and I was just paranoid about being ill, like, obviously catching something before I went, and obviously when I was on the plane and stuff, but thankfully nothing happened like that. But I know what you mean. Oh, it's awful, isn't it? So, yeah. But awesome, man. So how long were you there?
Went for 13 nights, and purely because it was cheaper to knock one of the nights off for the flight for some reason. Loads cheaper to come back on a certain day, so just did 13 nights. Stayed in a little place near, I think it's called Davenport, which is about 25 minutes from all the parks and things like that.
Yeah.
And just took the family out there, really. Obviously, I wanted to wait until the Galaxy's Edge was open, and also because of my better half's job, we have to go in like school holidays.
Yes, of course.
So I had to wait until Christmas, really. But I advise anyone now, do not go there at Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
crazy busy. Oh,
one of the messages
busy.
you sent me, you said something like, because obviously we were in touch, weren't we, and stuff, and you said, I've never seen so many people in my life. It was a text message, and I told my mother that, actually. I was chatting with my family about you being there, and because you were there Christmas Day, correct? That must have been absolutely mental.
I went to Magic Kingdom on Christmas Day,
Whoa.
and as I said to you, I've never seen more people in one place at one time in my life, and I've been to some big football matches and stuff like that. It was just crazy. I don't even want to guess how many people were there.
Whoa.
I mean, I don't even know what the size of the park, the limit of the park is, but it was at its limit, if there is a limit.
No doubt, unbelievable. It's amazing, isn't it? It's open all the time. There's never a day off in the place. But my God, yeah, I can only imagine what it was like. But did you get to? There's a place that does turkey, there. They've got that. What's it now? The Liberty Inn. That's a good place. You can have they do Thanksgiving dinner every day of the year. Tim, you can have Christmas turkey.
Well, unfortunately, I think we just ended up eating junk food because you're just so busy, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, when you're in a place like that, it doesn't actually feel like Christmas because obviously we're used to it being freezing cold.
Yeah.
And actually on Christmas Day, for the first week, it actually rained quite a lot. But that Christmas Day was the first day that we actually had really good weather. So it just didn't feel like Christmas at all, really. Obviously in the parks, you've got the Christmas tree and the lights and everything, but I don't know, you don't just sort of have that Christmas feel when it's not cold and grey.
Well, that's it, and there's a little shout out there to our Australian listeners. We've got a few people who follow who are from Australia, and I can only imagine, wow, what Christmas is like there in the heat of the summer. But funnily enough, next Christmas actually, I've never been away Christmas when in a hot climate or anything like that. Like yourself, I like the cold of winter, but we're going away. I think, next Christmas to Tenerife as a family. We're all going off, so that'll be quite nice. But again, I can't imagine doing it really, not having the dinner and the cold weather and the chance of snow. But
it's the first time I've ever been away for Christmas from England, so yeah, it was a bit weird. But obviously, being in a place like that, you soon get over it,
Yeah. Awesome. So where I don't know where to quite begin, Tim, really. I knew I was talking to you tonight for this because and we haven't spoken about anything really since you've been back, like this. And obviously Galaxy's Edge, I really want to talk to you about that and find out a bit more about what you saw and what it's like. As you know, I was there in the summer and the gates weren't open, and I was really upset about that, really, not to get in. But I got a sense of what it was like by watching a few vlogs and stuff. And but anyway, well, tell us a bit about it, Tim. What was it like?
Well, obviously I went there with a bit of two minds about it, because obviously I had watched a few maybe negative videos about it on YouTube, about it being empty and lacking a bit of soul and what have you. And I've got to say that I thought it was amazing. I do agree that the thing it does lack a little bit is the whole original trilogy thing. It is all based around the new sequel trilogy and the whole Disney thing. But I think you've just got to kind of accept that. I mean, I know it's all for all ages, but essentially it's for kids, isn't it? Yeah. Star Wars and these parks and what have you. So it's for that new breed of fan and what have you. And you know, my kids absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But from an aesthetic point of view, you are literally in Star Wars, you know.
Yeah.
There wasn't too many characters rolling about. I saw a couple of stormtroopers. I saw Rey at one point. Finn and Chewie a couple of times.
Yeah.
But apart from that, there wasn't too many sort of bowling about.
Right.
But the best bit for me was when you're walking through the sort of marketplace where all the mini shops are. So there's these really like little boutique shops, and they all do different things. So like one sells popcorn, one sells just those.
Sorry, Tim. I'm sorry to cut in. Is that meat flavored stuff that I've seen with the all like multi flavored popcorn? Or whatever?
Yeah, there's two different popcorn flavors, and one's supposed to be meaty flavour. It's not really. It's just a bit. It's got like a bit of chilliness to it, I suppose. Yeah. Slight heat. That's the one I got anyway. And the other one's supposed to be like Fruit Loops. You know, those like fruity cereal flavour. Yeah. That's like the green one.
Did you have the blue milk? Did you have any of that? Or green milk?
No, I didn't. There's a little stall that does sell the milk, but I didn't bother queuing up for that, and I wasn't about to queue up for the cantina either. The queue for the cantina, just to get in the cantina, was huge. But since I've been back, I understand that you could actually like order tickets for it and reservations for it, which I didn't do. But I was with my children anyway, and it kind of sort of didn't really fit into what we were doing. So
yeah, I've heard about the cantina. Sorry, Tim.
With the little shops and everything.
Yeah.
As I said, you've got this little area that's just selling those Salacious Crumb puppet doll things. That's all he sold, and then another place that sold other bits and bobs. So it really had that sort of marketplace feel, as if you're walking through, I don't know, Tatooine, or maybe one of the places that is in the Mandalorian. That kind of vibe.
Awesome, yeah, sounds awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
With the cantina, I knew about that, the fact that it's kind of like booking only. Now tell me about the queues then for, obviously it was mentally busy over Christmas, but what about like, you went on the Rise of Resistance, didn't you? So what's the queuing situation with that? Is it fast? Not fast pass, is it?
No, and you can't, no, there's not even a queue. So what you have to do is you have to, immediately as soon as you get in, you get onto the app and you have to book a boarding pass, and then you get allocated a boarding number. And then you have to keep checking the app, and when that number comes up, then you can go. So there'll be like a range of numbers. So it'll be like, we are now boarding 45 to 50 or whatever. And then you've got like an hour to make sure you rock up and go on it. Basically, if you miss your slot, you've missed it, sort of thing.
Wow.
But the problem is you can't book your boarding ticket until you're in the park and you've put your ticket up against that beeper thing and you're in, sort of thing. Right. So people were getting there at like 5:30, 6 in the morning for the park to open at 7. So there was already a queue.
Wow.
And then everyone, you can just see, because it was dark, you could just see their lights of their phones just waiting to basically hit that button to join the boarding pass.
God.
So immediately when we beat through, we were trying and it was crashing, the app was crashing. It was like, no, because everyone's on it, you know. And actually, the Wi-Fi there is surprisingly good. You know, wherever you are in the park, the Wi-Fi is quite strong. But anyway, we managed to get sort of, I think it was boarding 89 or something, and we got on at about 1:30, 2 o'clock, which was really good because the second time we went, we didn't get in the park until about 7:20, and we got boarding pass 115, I think it was, and we just. Basically we couldn't wait any longer, so we went home or back to the villa. But you can keep checking the app, and it said that our boarding number came up, and it was 7:30 at night. So we would have been in the park 12 hours to get on that ride again. So we didn't bother waiting for that one. As for the Falcon, no fast passes available for that. You just have to queue, and we queued 2 hours, maybe more for that.
Do you know what? That isn't that bad. That's what I was wondering, because for Flight of Passage, when I was there, because I was staying at a resort hotel, for Flight of Passage, I managed to, because I had early access to the Fast Pass system by 60 days versus 30 days for any other guest. So I got a ticket for that on regular Fast Pass. But then, this sort of thing, what's it called? Smuggler's Run? That's
Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, that's as popular a ride, or will be, as Flight of Passage is. So I thought to myself, well, you might not have much joy. But do you know what? 2 hours isn't that bad, because I think the Flight of Passage queues are up to 3 or 4 hours at sometimes.
The 2 hours was when we first got to the park. So
and it was Christmas as well. It's crazy.
And you make an immediate... in fact, what they did was you go up the main... Is it called Main Street? So you go up to Main Street, and then you can either go... even though Toy Story Land and...
Hollywood Boulevard. This is Disney Hollywood Studios, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Hollywood.
So I don't
Hollywood
know, what's the street called? And you go up the centre bit.
Yeah, towards the Chinese Theatre. Yeah.
Yeah, and Batu, or whatever it's called, Galaxy's Edge, is right next door to Toy Story.
Yeah, that's right.
But what they did is they said, people that want to go to Galaxy's Edge goes left. People that want to go to Toy Story Land go right. They literally split everyone, because otherwise it would just been absolutely manic. So the first time we went there, we made a beeline for the Toy Story Land, and then the second time we went to Galaxy's Edge. But literally, we're I want to say one of the first people in the park, but we're in there about 7:20. And when I got to the Millennium Falcon, it was already, as I say, 2 hours in the pouring rain as well. It wasn't
really?
Too great,
no, yeah.
It was worth the wait. I would say the Rise of the Resistance ride's better than the Millennium Falcon.
Brilliant.
Even though the Millennium Falcon is very iconic, because you're inside it. They give you a little sort of 5 minutes before you have to go into the cockpit and actually go on that ride. You get 5 minutes in the area with the chess table and seating and all that kind of stuff to take your photos and whatever. So from that point of view, it's really good.
Brilliant. And do you know what? Because would you mind talking us through the Rise the Rise of Resistance? Because I haven't watched any videos on it, and I don't particularly want to watch a video. I'd sooner just maybe hear about it from somebody. So this is full spoilers now, if you're listening, because it's not like the Smuggler's Run's different, isn't it? Sorry, Tim. I was just going to say Smuggler's Run is, you kind of know what it is. It's a simulator, and you can't really experience it. But with something like Rise of Resistance, it's like a full-on immersion thing, isn't it? Like a dark ride with audio animatronics and stuff, isn't it?
So the Millennium Falcon, you basically have 6 seats where 2 people fly it. One person goes left and right, other person goes up and down. You have 2 people sitting behind you doing the guns, and then you have 2 people sat behind them that do the engineer, like fixing the Falcon. And how you perform on your flight, other things get determined later on in the park. And when you're walking out of the Falcon, it might be sparking or on fire or something like that if you've spent your time crashing. The Rise of the Resistance is as you mentioned, the Millennium Falcon is just, as you say, a simulator. Rise of the Resistance is a bit different. You first off walking through like a series of tunnels and whatever, which is basically their queuing system. But it goes quite quick, because obviously you've got your boarding pass. And then when you first get there, you pass Poe's Black X-Wing, which obviously isn't on show anywhere else in Galaxy's Edge. So that looked pretty cool. And then there was a blue and white like blockade runner, like a Tantive 4, but blue.
What, full size?
And then sorry?
What, full size?
Not full size, but pretty big. So
like force perspective kind of thing, because they're quite good at that over there.
Yeah, I mean bigger than the X-wing that's sitting there. Sort of thing. It's a pretty big thing.
Yeah. The
doors open, you go in, and then the doors close behind you, and you've probably got about 15 people in there, I reckon. With 2 screens either side of you. You've got one with Admiral Akbar's, like an animatronics Admiral Akbar, who's like flying it, with a screen behind him, and then behind you is another screen, and you end up basically taking off, and you get attacked by the First Order, So there's loads of things going on. It's shuddering around, the screen's going mad, and it really does feel like you're in a ship because it's moving around.
Yeah.
So then I think basically what happens is you get docked by like a Star Destroyer or something.
Yeah.
The doors open again, and that's where you come out to like that. I'm sure loads of people have seen it. The 20, 30 stormtroopers that are all lined up in that massive area with the TIE fighter. And that for me was like
on your Instagram video. I did watch that. That's on your Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah. That was unbelievable. When you come out to that, you're like, wow. This is like immense, the sheer size of it.
Yeah.
So then basically you're in there for about a minute. You're allowed to take some photos and everything. And then basically the First Order, who are completely in character, they're really moody. They're basically, you're their prisoners, and they walk you down this little walkway, and then they put you in a cell. And Kylo Ren sort of is up above you on this sort of gangway above you, and he sort of says some stuff to you. And then the Resistance break you out. Sort of the wall blows up a little bit, and they open this sliding door, and they say, we're the Resistance, we're here to rescue you, sort of thing. So it's all really
you're the who? You're who? Yeah. So
and then you get into this like pod thing, which are droid drives.
Yeah.
And that's where you like float around, twisting and turning, all with the AT-AT legs and stuff. These massive AT-ATs are in there.
Awesome.
And then essentially you do that for a while with stormtroopers shooting at you, and it's really, as I say, really, really immersive. And then essentially, basically, you somehow manage to get into a escape pod, and then it becomes a bit like the Falcon there, where you're in like a simulator and you basically hurtle to the ground, and it really does feel like you're going to crash land. It's
bloody hell, man.
So good.
Sounds awesome.
So I would say it lasts about 15 minutes, the whole thing.
Yeah, God almighty. I'll have to watch. Maybe I should watch the video. I don't know if I'm going back anytime soon, so I might as well check it out. But I just, if I did, I didn't want to, in case it would spoil it, and just experience it. But it sounds awesome,
there is that. I mean, maybe you shouldn't. It's because I'd never seen anything of it at all. I didn't know what was going to happen, and there's a point in it where you do drop a little bit, and that's the point where you suddenly start hurtling to the ground in like a simulator, and I didn't realise that was coming at all, and it was quite a surprise. But yeah,
how did you find it all the rides and stuff there? Were you all right with it all? Because it's quite family orientated there, and it's not necessarily like hardcore.
No,
the rides.
I'm not massively into roller coasters and things, but I surprised myself. I went on pretty much everything that they had to offer. We went on Everest at is it Animal Kingdom?
Oh, Expedition Everest, yeah, Animal Kingdom, yeah.
That goes backwards, doesn't it?
It does.
You get quite a bit of G-force on that one.
Well, you do. You certainly do inside, yeah.
Yeah. I think that was probably I would say scariest.
If you went on that, that's pretty good. That's the fastest. Well, it's not the fastest one there. That's one of the fastest ones they've got there, around about 55 miles an hour.
It was definitely the most thrilling. My son came off that not happy at all.
Brilliant. Because I had watched videos of that, so I kind of like spoilt it for myself, if you know what I mean. But you can't tell what's going on when you watch the video because it's in darkness. When you're watching a YouTube video, I mean. But that G-force is insane inside there. Yeah.
Well, the great thing about that one is that we didn't have fast passes for it. And we rocked up to it, and it's 120 minutes. And I said to the lady on the door bit, I said, "Oh, does this ride have a loop in it?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Oh, right. So will my son be okay? Because we don't know whether to queue up for a whole hour, 120 minutes for him just to be really scared or back out at the last minute sort of thing." She goes, No, I think you'll enjoy it. There's a bit of a surprise in the middle, and she's talking about the backwards bit.
Yeah.
But then she goes, "Tell you what," she goes, "Go in the fast pass." And I was like, "Oh, thank you very much. That's really kind."
Oh wow, she bumped you up to fast pass. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But so, there's a single rider queue, Tim, for that one. You can do single rider, which is really good. That kind of
right.
It's really good. A good way of sort of fast passing it in itself. Really, there's not many rides at Disney really that do single rider. That's what I wondered if you knew about that one. It's hidden around the side, you see.
You can do the Falcon. You can do the Falcon single rider.
Can you?
And then you obviously have to wait for a group that's got, apart because it's 6 people.
Well,
so
yeah,
if it's a family of 4, then you need up one other single rider. You have to sort of wait.
Yeah, you kind of cross your fingers waiting for parties of 3 or whatever if you did single rider to kind of get a chance.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. You know, when you were saying earlier about the fact that the Galaxy's Edge was not really original trilogy.
Yeah.
But as you say, there's aspects, though, isn't there, of original? No doubt, a little bit. Did it feel like Mos Espa in a way, you know, the marketplace there and all of that?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's, as I say, it's got the Star Wars aesthetic. It's just the characters, you know. So basically, we'd been in there 5 minutes, and then we saw Chewie and Finn run up, like, past. And then 2 First Order stormtroopers came past with their weird voices going, has anyone seen the Rebels? Has anyone seen them? You know, we're after these 2 guys, sort of thing. And I don't know, because I'm old school, you know, if they were Imperial stormtroopers, it just would have had that much more of an impact.
Yeah, you would have loved it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
My boy doesn't care. He just doesn't really know the difference, you know, so...
But the thing is, I was going to say, I don't mind either in a way, because they have designed the First Order to just so closely echo the Empire. It's like the Empire 2.0, if you like.
Yeah.
It's kind of all the designs, and even the TIE fighters are pretty much the same design.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. It would be really nice if it was kind of mocked up to be the original trilogy era, but... You know, who knows, man? I kind of...
It lacks Vader, doesn't it? And,
yeah.
You know, so you got Kylo Ren. I mean, you know, he's a good character and everything, and I'm sure, you know, loads of people think he's great. But,
yeah.
As I say, I'm from the 80s, and if it was Vader, it would just have more of an impact for me. They did have a stage show kind of thing, which happened every hour, actually, a big stage. And they got all the characters and put this great show on with these big screens, and all the characters came out. And what's great about that is they had characters from the whole saga. So Darth Maul came out, you had normal stormtroopers, you had First Order, you had Kylo, Vader, Boba Fett came out, so you had a whole mix.
Yeah.
And they're playing all the music, so you had the Duel of Fates music, so that was really good, and that went on for about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, but every hour I think that was on. So
well, I'm going to stop you there, Tim. I'm going to stop you there because on my channel, right, back to me, I've got a playlist. What did I call it now? Obi-Wan Kenobi theme park vlogs or something. But one of my videos, I did film that little stage show. But with regard to your channel, I'm looking forward to seeing. Are you going to be uploading some videos of Galaxy's Edge and like a little tour or anything like that?
So I've got some footage. I didn't sort of keep the camera rolling for any length of time for each video sort of thing, and I didn't really do any talking, as it were, you know, of what I'm seeing and what have you. And I'm also a bit paranoid about copyright strikes with the music playing in the background and what have you. But I have got some footage that I can sort of like put a montage together or whatever. That might be a 5-minute video or whatever.
Awesome.
But some of it's inside the Rise of the Resistance, so I kind of was in 2 minds of whether I want to put that on and spoil it for people, you know?
Well, it's up to you. You could, and a lot of people are after that kind of thing, aren't they? They want to see it, but, you know, I'd probably watch it if you did upload it, but I was going to ask you, did you go in that junk shop? You know, that guy, he kind of looks a bit like Hammerhead. He's kind of got his own little collecting shop, like an antique shop in a way. Do you know the one I mean? Did you go in that one?
I don't recall seeing him.
It's got loads of like Easter eggs and stuff in there.
All of the like shop assistants and people on the tills and whatever all act.
Oh yeah.
Like they're all in character.
Yeah.
So my son was buying the one of the Black Series exclusive 3-packs or whatever, and we went up to the counter just expecting to hand over the money and pay, and he starts rattling on about, so you're going to be joining the First Order and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I find it quite hard and embarrassing to like sort of play along.
Oh, come on, Tim, play along. I'm only joking, you know. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
That sort of thing's really good.
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed that I didn't get a chance to like use the app on some of the things around the park that are supposed to be interactive, like doorways and this, that, and the other. Because I read a lot about that you could things that you do in Galaxy's Edge affect other things and allow you to enter other places and all this kind of stuff. But to be honest, there were so many people there, it was literally just impossible to see anything on a wall or, because there was just too many people. So
I was going to say, going back to Animal Kingdom, 2 hours for Expedition Everest. I was there in the summer and I don't think the queues were that big. So it just proves how busy it was. That's long for that ride. And, anyway. But also, as long as you had a good time, that sounds awesome, Tim. Sounds amazing.
It's fantastic, obviously. And my kids are already making me promise to take them back, even though it took me God knows how many years to save up to take them back.
Well, that's it now. You got them hooked for life now. That'll be the thing. Of course they'll want to go back. Yeah. I always did when I was a kid. I loved it years ago. So many good memories are there. But anyway, moving on, Tim. The other thing was, obviously, I have not spoken to you. I've not even asked you what you thought of The Rise of Skywalker. So should we get into that one?
Yeah, cool.
Brilliant. Okay. So you obviously my thoughts on it. I did a little I did a little review of it, just uncut really. I just reeled off my thoughts. I didn't dislike it, but I felt a little bit sort of I don't know where to begin talking about it really. There was just a lot of there was a hell of a lot going on. And to be honest with you, I wasn't all that satisfied, really, with what I saw. Right. But anyway, enough about me. They've all heard my thoughts before. What did you think of The Rise of Skywalker?
Well, it's been 3 weeks since I've seen it. I've only seen it the once. And obviously I've been to Florida and that since then. So I'm trying to remember as much about it as I can, because the one thing that struck me immediately about it was how fast-paced it was and how much was happening, and it was jumping from here to there to everywhere, and it was one of those films that sort of is telling you stuff you need to know rather than sort of showing you stuff, if you know what I mean, because I think they had so much to pack in that they had to sort of almost tell you the obvious things to make you understand what the story. I think it needed to be 2 films, in my opinion. Yeah. They should have done 2 films out of that, or it should have been maybe 3 hours long. You know, I think they just crammed so much in. One thing I do remember specifically about it was Chewie, and when, spoiler alert if no one's seen it, Chewie is supposedly on that thing and supposedly gets blown up. I didn't worry for him at all, and I wanted to worry for him because that would have been a more impactful thing for me in the film. But I instantly remembered seeing this trailer of him in the Falcon with Lando, and we hadn't even bumped into Lando at that point. So
that's what Red Letter Media said the same. Mr. Plinkett and all that lot.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, they said exactly the same. They said, I'm sure it was
so
that.
It's like that's like a big thing in the film.
I didn't notice that. I thought he was potentially dead, actually, but I thought, I was a little bit concerned. But no.
The trailer had C-3PO and the bandolier and everything. It's meant to make you think that could Chewie be, could they be killing off Chewie? And when they do in the film, it just held no weight for me because I knew, I'd already seen him in another part of the trailer, and that's what I kind of felt about it. That they showed a lot of TV spots and trailers and what have you before the film, and that kind of spoiled it. In terms of did I enjoy it? Yeah, I did. I did enjoy it because for me it had a lot of heartbeat in it of the original trilogy. You could tell that they were trying to satisfy a lot of people that perhaps didn't like The Last Jedi. Now, I think everyone knows my thoughts on The Last Jedi. I didn't like it that much. It's not really I'm not going to say it's ruined my childhood or anything like that. I just didn't like certain aspects of the film, some of the story or lack of story, in my opinion, the jokes, all that kind of stuff. For me, it just didn't feel like Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker does feel like Star Wars, although I do think it is a bit of a mess, really. It's a bit of a hot mess.
That's the thing, it feels very messy, and everyone keeps using that same phrase, convoluted mess. I never use the word convoluted ever in my, personal bank of words, but it's a word that's quite appropriate, really, for it.
Yeah.
So much going on.
It is messy, because it just bounces around, and you want them to flesh out one of the places that they're in, you know? Even like the Zori Bliss bit where they meet up with her, I thought,
oh yeah,
you know, if they could just have fleshed that out a bit more, but it's so rushed.
Yeah, you're in and you're out, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? There's loads of bits that are really there's great tone or whatever, and there's bits when I've sat there and you get swept away with it and you get sucked along on that Star Wars wave and you think, oh yes, this is kind of good, isn't it? Satisfying, and then it's, yeah, as you say, it's just about the pace, isn't it? And the tone of the other one, Last Jedi, was probably the problem, wasn't it? Having said that, Tim, I was just going to say, and I want to mention this, I did tell you about The Fallen Knight, which is a cut of The Last Jedi, just to go back to that one. And I don't know if anyone who's watching this has seen that, but that's excellent, because when I watched The Last Jedi, I obviously didn't like it very much either, but I couldn't hate it because there were so many bits that were also very well shot and that were excellent. The thing about The Fallen Knight is they just basically cut all of Canto Bight out and all of the lame jokes and stuff, especially the bit with all that stuff with Maz Kanata on that hologram doing that stupid thing that she was. That's all gone. There's none of that. No Broom Boy.
Too, yeah.
And do you know what? It really made it's a solid 1 hour 45 minutes now, and it's brilliant. So Fallen Knight, definitely check it out. So much better.
Yeah, I will. The thing is, I think part of The Last Jedi for me was and I know it sounds silly because it is beautifully shot and everything, but I just don't think that way of filming, for me to enjoy a Star Wars film, it needs to feel like Star Wars. And you know, the storyline can be a bit poor if you know, so long as it feels like Star Wars. And I think one thing about The Last Jedi, I think about when I think it's Luke's talking to Rey about the light, or she's saying, I can see light, I can see darkness, and the film goes off and showing you like plants growing and skeletons in the ground and all, really sort of arty filming. And to me, that threw me out. Even that threw me out of the film.
Wow,
you know?
isn't
So
that funny?
when I'm watching The Last Jedi, it just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me.
I love that. That's interesting that you said that. But when I watched it, I quite enjoyed that. You know what I mean? I just thought, that's new, but it was like interesting, a little bit of a digression, but it was almost a refreshment summary of what the Force is, or it is to her perspective, or whatever. But
I can understand people's point of view.
If it spoils it for you, that's interesting to hear that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like people. It's like I can completely understand why people want something different for Star Wars, but I just think Star Wars has always had that. Even the prequels. I know a lot of people hate the prequels, but they still had that way of it being filmed and the techniques used and what have you, and just the feel for it as you're watching it, you know.
Yeah.
Even though there's, you know, take the Phantom Menace for example, the storyline maybe not great, it's a bit political, all that. Even though I quite like it, but it still feels like Star Wars, you know, with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It did feel like yeah.
And I think even the people that like really defend The Last Jedi and they think it's the best thing since sliced bread, a lot of them even agree that the lightsaber toss thing was a step too far, because I just don't think, even if Luke's given up and all this stuff, I still don't think he would do that. And that's why in The Rise of Skywalker when he says, I found that hilarious, because I don't think it's a dig necessarily. A lot of people are going too far saying it's a dig
they are, aren't they?
Ryan, and I don't think
there's
it's
a middle
dig.
finger to Ryan Johnson. That's what they're saying, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. I just think it's a bit of correcting maybe Luke a little bit. I think.
Why did they allow him?
JJ has got a different sort of thoughts about Luke's character.
But it's just so ironic that, you know, I did appreciate that The Rise of Skywalker had this kind of correction of everything that was maybe a bit iffy on the last one, because I hated that lightsaber toss. But then The Fallen Knight, that's not in there. They've cut it so that he just walks away from Rey. So I've seen this new version of like Last Jedi, and I've become like the newest fan of The Last Jedi now. Because I always kind of did appreciate it, but now, I don't know. I wish somebody had said to him, you can't have that in, Ryan. It's just not going to work. And then let him do it.
Well,
it's
I think it's not the fact that he doesn't want the lightsaber. It's just the nonchalance of it, you know?
Yeah.
If he just said, I don't want it, doesn't mean anything to me anymore, gives it her back, that's one thing. But just lobbing it just... And to be so close to the beginning of the film, it just threw me out. And it's like,
I know.
I don't know if I'm gonna like this.
We'd literally just been seeing Finn in that Bacta suit, you know, squirting the juice everywhere, and like, you know, that's all like comedy. And then there was that, and I just thought, oh, hang on a minute. I said to my mate, I said, are they taking the piss? Is this like the first comedy Star Wars film? It's crazy.
But this is the thing. It's like, you know, we're talking about The Last Jedi again, aren't we? Because it does provoke conversation.
The dark side clouds everything.
Yeah, Last Jedi. It's funny, isn't it? It does, doesn't it? But anyway, having said that, on a positive note, do watch The Fallen Knight, because all you see in that film is it's all about. It's basically Kylo and Snoke, Rey and Luke, and that's all it is. And the rest of it is just gone. It's brilliant. It's so much better.
Yeah, there were some weird things in The Rise of Skywalker that I still don't really understand, and I'm not sure if anyone's really explained them to me on Twitter, or maybe we'll have to wait for the official guide or something to come out, or some more stories. And this is another thing I don't like, is that the new film seems to have a lot in there that you need to read the comics and books to get a full understanding of it, whereas the original trilogy, you didn't need that. Everything was in the film. You didn't have to be a super fan to know everything or need to know everything. And I just think some things are so unexplained that you kind of, if you want to have the full story, you need to read a comic or a book, you know?
And now, were you happy with the actual explanations of, the key explanations of who people were, like who Snoke was and who Rey was? What were your thoughts on that? Well,
the Snoke thing was weird because, fine, you've clone this, but why do you need multiple Snokes? Why is there how many did he have in jars?
Well, there was about 2, I think, upside down, but
you only need 1 though, don't you?
Because Snoke was like I loved Snoke. I loved Snoke when he was in going back to The Last Jedi. I thought he was great in that, and I didn't necessarily mind that he died. I thought, well, that's quite an interesting twist, that. But then obviously it does ultimately leave you without a bad guy, but I still wanted him to be involved somewhere else, like. Or at least find out who he was, and then just to find out that he was, well, we don't know. Is he a clone or what? Who knows?
Well, this is it. I think there's some repair jobs going on there, isn't there? Some, as our US friends that are watching or listening would say, it's got a few band-aids on it,
Yeah. Do you think they're going to release? I've asked you this before, and do you think they're going to release a longer version of this film? Because that is talk at the minute online.
Well, they could do like what they did with the Marvel film, the last Marvel film, where they
Endgame, is it? I don't know anything about that. You see, I've heard about this.
I don't think it's what people are saying, that there's this JJ cut where Disney first saw it and said, no, you're not doing that, and then cut loads of bits out, and he got angry. But I'm not necessarily sure that happened.
Right.
I just think that there's probably a lot that's been shot, and because it was already a 2-hour, 30-minute film, for your average, 9-year-old, that's probably a bit much, isn't it? So
yeah.
He had to get it down to a certain size.
But I'd go back to the cinema again to watch it. They'd certainly coin it at the box office, and it sounds to me like they would need to, because they're not making as much as they, would have liked.
Well, I want to go and see the one that's there now again. I just want to see it again, just so I can pick up on things that I missed the first time, whatever, because it was going so quick.
Yeah.
But there's certain things in there which, like for example, the whole Palpatine thing. I always thought from The Force Awakens that she was a Palpatine because of the way she had that, me and my friends immediately said when she was on that lightsaber and she was doing that stabbing motion, it just looked like how Palpatine was when he was fighting Yoda. I just noticed it straight away.
I never would have thought that. Never independently did I think that. But there was a guy who did a video about it, and he's doing the rounds again on YouTube. His video's going viral or whatever. He predicted it or whatever. 2 years ago? I'm sorry, I don't know which channel it is, but anyway, it's quite uncanny, the video. It looks like it was made yesterday kind of thing, after the film was released, Rise of Skywalker, but no, he actually just predicted it spot on. But I had no idea that you had that prediction. I'm sorry, Tim, I was just going to say.
Yeah, well, it's just an immediate thing that we all said, maybe she's, because everyone was saying, is she a Kenobi, is she this, and me and my friends both said, maybe she's, from an evil point of view, really.
Yeah.
And she's a Palpatine because of that. She definitely I think it was deliberately done.
I wish they'd made her parents look a little older, though, because it would have made sense if because they could have probably he could have had his son just before he got scarred and deformed, you know, in Revenge of the Sith or whatever. I don't know. I've not done the arithmetic in my head.
That's the other thing I don't understand is that, and no one's been able to answer it yet, is that why is it the grandchild he's trying to get? Why isn't it, his son or daughter?
That's what I mean. If anyone is watching this and thinking, why are you hating on it? We loved it as a picture, well, I loved it as it sounds like you enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it, but it's just, there's so many things that... And it's like some of the initial reviewers, I don't really listen to what they have to say. I'd like to make my own opinion. As in the critics, the industry critics, they were saying, if you switch off your brain, you will enjoy it. Which is kind of true if you block out all the reality of what's going on in front of you. It's crazy.
Yeah, just don't ask too many questions.
Just accept it and get on with it. Yeah.
I mean, there was some great, like the whole Ben Solo thing, I thought, when Han Solo came back, I thought that was really well done.
Would you think that was a force projection?
Sorry?
Sorry, Tim, I'm cutting in on you. Do you think that was a force projection by Leia?
Not sure. It might have just been like a memory because I think even Ray said that you can't stop seeing your father, or you can't get him out of your head, or something like that. So maybe it's just a memory.
I forgot about that.
I don't really know, but
Luke says that to him as well. Yeah, Luke says that to him as well. He says, "I'll always be with you, just like your father." Wow, I never thought about that. I just thought it was somebody said something about force projection, and I thought, "Oh wow, that's a nice idea."
And I don't mind the force healing thing. That's fine. Because obviously we've seen that in the...
Why are people getting so upset about that? Because I think that everyone's like now cross-questioning everything. Like, why didn't Obi-Wan do it? And it's like, maybe it's an exclusive power that not everybody knew about or could do it or access that level of ability. But also, someone had this, I think it was Star Wars Theory had the argument of they kept it very... If everyone did know about it, even going back to the prequels, they had to keep it very guarded because if people found out about it, everyone would demand it so much that it would be such a pressure on the Jedi, if you want to look at it on that level. But I just think personally it was just something that only a few could tap into. Someone as powerful as obviously Baby Yoda. We'll have to talk about that later. The Mandalorian.
Or it's like anything that things might evolve. As people evolve, they get better suited to things. They get better at things, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like real life. People are breaking records from 50 years ago and whatever. I just think it's like a thing that maybe it's, I don't want to say the Force evolves, but maybe the people that use it are just a little bit...
Like the Force projection, that in itself was a bit like, whoa, I've never seen that. And I accepted it and liked that a lot, the Force projection. I know my mate hated it. He hated the fact that Luke didn't turn up physically and be there. He thought he was being a wuss, but I didn't see it like that. So.
Sorry, but it's amazing how the X-Wing can suddenly fly, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That was nice, though. For whatever reason...
It was his door, wasn't it?
Yeah, for whatever reason, this is funny, this as well. I didn't quite like Luke's first appearance. I loved the bit when he levitated the X-Wing, but when he first appeared on screen, there's something about it. I thought, oh, here he comes. Like, we all just... And obviously his hair was longer and stuff, and I thought, the continuity was a bit funny or something. A bit like when Yoda came back, because Yoda looked a bit weird and puffy in the face in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So it didn't kind of hit the beat for me, But I certainly like the bit when Leia and Luke were training, and if they could make a figure, speaking of figures, and a car back for them, like that expanded universe thing is so appealing. And it was only a short scene, but I thought, wow, I love that. That floated my boat. Tim.
Yeah, well, I
can't stop talking like Alan Partridge when I talk to you.
The Star Wars feel, it's those sorts of things have definitely been put in for people like me and you,
Yeah. I like that explanation.
That sort of thing is what The Last Jedi lacked,
Yeah. And I like that explanation as to why she decided to go a different, route from using the Force as well. Obviously, if she'd had a premonition. So that was quite nice to sort of learn that, because you did wonder, was she Force was she as Force sensitive or whatever as Luke, being twins and all that. So that was pretty cool. Brilliant, yeah. Anyway, so the Mandalorian, you've been enjoying that as well, haven't you? And you've done a video, haven't you, recently? I haven't watched it yet, about what you predict for the vintage collection. So brilliant, but...
Well, it's not predicting, it's what I want.
Oh, really. What you want.
It kind of is predicting, but...
Cool.
The Mandalorian, I've got, I love that show. I personally think it's the best thing since the original trilogy. I mean, I do like the prequels. I'm not a prequel hater. I do like them.
Yeah.
But they've just got that nailed. They've got everything about that show nailed. It's just amazing.
Brilliant. Even like the harshest of critics are loving it, aren't they? Or the cynical.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything you can not like about it, you know?
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people thought, I think part of the critic was that, oh, you're just like sort of resurrecting Boba Fett, but calling him a different name or whatever, you know, because he was the character that everyone loved and whatever. And I think Favreau even said it's an 80s kids toy, you know, fan dream, this program or whatever, and it is, you know, you watch it and there's like, oh, look at that, and even little tiny things, like I think there's the episode where he gives the child and takes the money, and then he goes back. There's a bit where he looks in the bin and the cradle's in the bin.
Oh yeah,
you know that bit, yeah.
Sad,
just behind him are these beams up against the wall, and they're the same struts that Leia used in the trash compactor to like hold, you know, to try and stop
really? Oh, I never knew that.
So it's just little.
I just remember
things like that.
It's good about the emotion. People have talked about emotions recently and feeling something for characters. And you know, I when I saw that cradle thing, I felt it felt horrible, didn't you? And he's such a hero. He went back and obviously sorted things out. But I didn't know that about the beams. Though that's interesting. Where did you find that out?
We just noticed it. Me and my mates on Twitter have just
said,
"Oh, did you see the?" Yeah, we just noticed
exclusive.
it. Exclusive. You know the droids that are on that the jailbreak episode.
Oh, that was my favourite episode. That was awesome. That one.
Not the security droids that look a bit like Chappie. Not those ones. the sort of Dalek ones. You know.
Oh yeah.
Float. That droid's one of the ones that Jawas was selling.
Oh yeah, no doubt, yeah. It? Absolutely it was, yeah.
It's just little things like that. The attention to detail is spot on.
But those droids, it's interesting, they're known as R1, aren't they? And you thought to yourself, when you watch The New Hope, you think, that's definitely a weapon that thing's got. It looks like a tank, doesn't it, when you first watch The New Hope? It looks an aggressive droid. And then when you find out it's an R1, you think, well, what is that? Is that like an R2 unit but the first model and it's there to sort of do mechanical stuff? But no, when you watch it in The Mandalorian, it's there going around shooting people and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. As I say, I just think they've just got everything right about it. And if the one major criticism I have about the sequel trilogy is that they're sort of wanting to make it all new and everything, and for the new audience, they've forgotten a lot of the older stuff. And I think for Aliens, for example, you know, there's some cool new aliens, granted, you know, they look pretty decent, but there's no old style aliens, you know, there's no hammerheads, there's no Greedos, there's no Bosks, you know, there's none of those in the sequel trilogy. And I just can't find it believable in all the different planets that they go to that you don't at least see one hammerhead, whatever he's called. So that was a bit disappointing for me. But in the Mandalorian, you know, even in the very first episode, you've got all those Niktos and stuff. It's amazing, you know?
It's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, the green Nikto, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's almost like, as you say, they're kind of catering with these new blockbusters, that they're doing it for absolutely everybody, fanboys, young kids. With that, yeah, I haven't seen many Marvel films, but a lot of people say that there's a lot of, you know, action of that caliber in there. But yeah, it's so much more basic, The Mandalorian, and it's a good pace, and it's just sit back and relax and just look forward to it every time it's on.
Well, some of the episodes haven't even got any talking in them, have they? It's just literally, as you say, feeling and atmospheric and what have you. It's just, you know, I honestly believe it's a masterpiece, and it'll go down in 20 years' time. People will just think it's, you know, the best thing ever.
My God, if they hadn't made it, I would have, my faith in what they were producing to them, and it would have really nosedived. But I'm so thankful that they made it. Have you got any thoughts on, you know, what they'll do in the next series with regards to the child, and if they might tie it in with anything with Rise of Skywalker plot-wise?
Not really sure. I think it's. I mean, they'll always have little pieces that might connect things, but I think it's more connected to other things. Like, for example, you got the spoiler alert, everyone, the dark saber at the end.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah. That was good.
That's all connected to Rebels and the Clone Wars. You know, with all the Mandalorians, they called Death Watch or whatever they're called, something like that.
Creed.
So it's all connected, isn't it? And so
yeah.
obviously, I think we might even learn a bit more. Or there'll be a bit of connectivity going on with the next series of the Clone Wars, perhaps some little nods to it or whatever, because obviously Filoni's involved in both, isn't he? So
it was good. That Moff character was brilliant, wasn't he? And he was so subtle in what he said. You know, you have something that I want, and that's all he kind of said or whatever. Or you have something that is mine, and I want it back. And he was just sinister, wasn't he? He didn't have to rant and rave or whatever.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's like complete opposite to, again, I'm not hating on the sequel trilogy, but, you know, he's a proper baddie, you know, he is sinister, he's got something about him, whereas, you know, if you compare him to Hux, he's just a joke, isn't it? And that's another thing about The Rise of Skywalker. They brought that guy in, is it General Pride, is that his name?
Oh, yeah, he was good, wasn't he? He was cool.
Yeah, so he should have been in it from all three. You know?
I like that link when he said,
like Kylo's nemesis all the way through.
Yeah, yeah. He said to him as well, you know, I followed you. I can't remember how he sounded, but I followed you in the last wars, and it'd be a pleasure to follow you again, or something like that. You know, it was obviously such a link to the Emperor and the original Empire. Really good.
Yeah, proper baddie, you know.
Yeah. And IG-88, just bouncing back to the Mandalorian. What I loved about him was the fact that you finally saw what... Oh, no, not IG-88, I'm sorry. IG-11, you kind of got a glimpse of what IG-88 could do. So I've got this, like, newfound respect for that droid now. That was awesome. Loved it. Really good.
The way they had that guy moving around, spinning around, his head spinning, it was just perfect. Perfect.
Dangerous. I thought he looked rubbish as a droid and couldn't move or whatever, but he can. He can really move. And do you think that the figure, you know, the vintage collection 3 3/4 inch, do you think we're going to get a rehash of the, I'm looking at it right now, the 6-inch one, which is like how his armour looks at the very beginning, or do you think we'll get the Beskar fully polished mega suit, if you want to call it, you know what I mean, when he's got all the full armour on? What do you think we'll get?
What, the
one that's coming out in June, the vintage collection Mandalorian figure.
Well, the pictures are out, aren't they?
Oh, are they? Oh, right, okay. Scratch that.
We're going to be getting the old, you know, the first one that's already out in the Black Series. But
it's funny that they've made it so you want another figure now, haven't they?
Yeah, I'd imagine the Black Series won't be long before they do that.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned in my video, it's a pretty easy one for them to do. They've got the sculpt and everything. It's just got a few different pauldrons and what have you.
Yeah, that's right. The plate sleeves. Yeah, brilliant. Awesome show. And I'd love them to bring out, what's the name of his ship again? The
Razor Crest.
Oh, the Razor. If they did that as their next HasLab project or whatever and made it really good, that'd be awesome, because it's not that big a ship, is it? So they could really scale it up and scale it accurately and have the carbon freeze and watcher faces in there. Because it's only got like the upper deck and the lower deck, hasn't it? And then that's it. And it would just be an awesome piece. It'd be an awesome piece.
Again, the design of it's just, you know, it's great, you know, and it's all chrome, so it's a bit like something from the prequels, but it's still like you're supposed to think that it's a bit of an older thing that's falling apart. The Jawas will take it to pieces, don't they? And I think there's some people who even mention, that thing, I haven't seen one of those in a while, that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's, as I say, everything about that show, they've just got it nailed as far as I'm concerned. And I just cut. The problem is you know, we're missing all the characters, aren't we? We're only getting the Mandalorian and the Cara Dune figure and the Stormtrooper, when there's, you know, 10 others I could list easily that we need pretty much straight away.
I know you're a fan of, and I've forgotten his name. I have spoken. Whatever his name. What's his name again? Quinlan, isn't it? Quill, yeah.
He's the best thing in it, I think.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so good. He's just the perfect Star Wars character.
Yeah. And
they've just got it nailed, you know.
They have, and
his little catchphrase and everything.
I was going to say about the ATST, which I might consider buying if I see it for the right price. It's just like that one simple piece of tech, and how dangerous that was, and that was like the whole threat for the whole thing, that episode. And that just shows the power of the AT-ST again, as opposed to some of the movies when you see everything get blown up and, like, nothing's good anymore, like, huge super weapons are just worthless or whatever. And it goes down to basic tech and how dangerous it is. And they make the most out of the most basic things, don't they? And I was going to say about the Moff, when he was surrounding them, and he brought in that cannon, didn't he? Which just looked like any old stormtrooper, I don't know what mounted gun, but he was like saying about, and I'm sure your Cara Dune, whatever, will know about this and what it can do or its capability. And
when he calls her by her full name, it's just awesome. Like, they've got everything nailed about it. That cannon, I mentioned that in my video. So they need to release that in like a mini rig style box from the Kenner days, because they used to have they had that Hoth Stormtrooper one back in the 80s, early 80s. I think it's called the Imperial Laser Cannon or something like that. It's on a tripod in like a small square rectangular box. They were called mini rigs, and they just get that in the vintage collection, weather it up and everything. It just look amazing.
Brilliant, yeah. So much potential.
They've got so much. They need to get speeder bikes out. There's so much in that show that needs to be made. And just Hasbro needs to get their finger out, really. But
it's funny how that Lucasfilm has caught them off guard, because had they known it was going to be such a hit, I'm sure they would have had more Baby Yodas and all that, in the marketplace for Christmas. So it's like the original Star Wars, they got caught off guard because that was such a hit, and this is a hit, and they're not ready for it.
Yeah, well, I think I heard about the Yoda one is that they didn't want it to leak. So they didn't want it to ruin the program. So they didn't even, no companies had even seen it and made anything for it, because they didn't want that part of it to leak, because that's the whole sort of thing about the program.
I almost don't want to know who he is or what he is. I just want it to just remain a mystery. Like, if they do this, I would be quite happy if this next series is just, you find out more about certain things, but I don't know. Ultimately, you're still left with a bit of mystery, and then they'll finish it off forever.
Well, I love the fact that the people in the show don't know what it is. They ask each other all the time, what is it? They don't know the creature's name. It's race. They don't know.
That's awesome.
So they're obviously mega rare. Now, whether they're all force sensitive or if it's just, maybe there's so few of them that, I don't know. It's just, exactly, I don't think I want to see, I'm not sure if I want to, like, visit his home planet where there's hundreds of them or whatever.
That would be like E.T. or something. That would be awful, wouldn't it? Imagine that. I'm sure Red Letter Media said something like that. They said something like, keep it, John Favreau, keep it only, or don't let Thingy get his hands on it or something. What was he saying? Don't let JJ get his hands on it because he'll wreck it or something. They were discussing some scenarios that could happen in the next series. Who knows, man? I hope it stays good, though. That's the main thing. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Brilliant. So have you got any other thoughts, Tim, on, just before we finish, any other thoughts on like, products we've got a long wait before anything comes out, but any products or rumours for the vintage collection, other than just pure speculation? Anything we know for definite is coming out?
Well, obviously it's a bit of a shame really, because a lot of it's the repacks we know they're coming.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's even been confirmed now that clone trooper that's coming out in the wave with the Mandalorian, that is a repack as well, even though it kind of didn't get advertised as a repack with the other ones, but I think that is it VC45?
Yeah.
I think it is that figure. So
that I don't mind that, because that's a good army builder. That's a good figure.
Oh yeah, it's good to have it, but it will probably come. It just means it will come out on the same card back. That's all.
I know, that's a shame. I wish they could do some variancy there. That would be really nice if they could do that. I don't see why they can't do it.
Yeah, well, it's that double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like, well, here's some figures that you didn't manage to get back in the day because you might have missed them, or you're new to collecting. So don't worry, people that have already spent your money on them. You don't have to get these. It's for the new people. But then if you stick them on your new card back, then you'll always get people that moan that go, "Oh, I've already got that figure and now I've got to buy it again because it's just a repack and I've got to buy it again because it's on a different card back."
Yeah.
So they can never win. Do you know what
I
mean?
No, I know. That's a really good point. That very good point. But ironically, I'll still buy it because I still know it's a variant, and I've got the other one, and I'll have this one next to it, knowing that they're two different, even though they're the same bloody front. You know what I mean? Just the date on the back, for God's sake, is ridiculous. And also the size of the the hole punch as well, and the fact that it doesn't have a punch in it. Well, you know what I mean? It's not unpunched.
But apart from that, I mean, I think they're pretty tight knit about what's coming. You know, I think New York Toy Fair will find out a lot. I seem to remember at MCM Comic Con they got interviewed and they said no more reveals for this year, even though there was a couple more. I think there was like one in Germany or something, and I think only a Black Series got revealed there. No more Vintage Collection, and they actually said that Toy Fair is going to be big. So
right.
I'm praying it is because I'm going. So.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course, man. That'd be awesome. Oh wow. I was going to say, I haven't asked you to do this before we spoke tonight, but with regard to what we still could get, I'm just writing a little list now. I'm going to do a top 5 very quickly. I was going to say I'd love still Dooku to appear, Bib Fortuna, the AT-AT driver, and I'll think of another couple in a minute. But would you like to just chip in there with any ones you would like to still see that we haven't seen?
Bib Fortuna's a must.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing about the rumours is that I heard a rumour that we're going to get another 3-pack, another Skiff 3-pack.
Oh really?
And we're going to get the Weequay that sticks his head out the window.
Oh, that'll be brand new then, wouldn't it? That's not even the Master, is it?
Yeah.
But I asked for that. I said a while ago. I said because the Master is so rare. I would love them to put that in a special action figure set as a Skiff set. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I'm quite proud of that one. I'd actually sort of said that should be done. It's nice that.
Yeah. the other one is Barada, so not Kitaba, but Barada.
Oh, I've got him. I don't want him.
and then some other Jabbagoon, maybe another Nikto or something.
Right.
Off the barge, but.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
It might have been that other guy that looked. Is it the one that comes out of the thing and shoots Luke's hand?
Him.
There's one there.
Yeah.
Is he like a human character?
I think that. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I might be wrong on this, but I don't think he's ever been released. He might have been, but I think that there was a lot of people making a fuss about him. Like he needs to be done. They were saying.
Yeah, so there's been that rumour, whether it's true or not.
So going back to that Skiff guy, the guy who looks out the window, because he looks just like the Master. Is it definitely not the Master that we're getting? It's going to be like this new, or the guy.
No, I think he's got like a bit of blue on him, isn't he?
Right. All right. Okay.
Like a bluey tunic or something.
Oh, that sounds good. I'll have him on my barge. That'll be pretty good. That'd be nice.
Yeah, but yeah. I don't know whether it's just wishful thinking from people, because I think maybe it would have come out last year, but maybe it's because obviously those figures have obviously been a big success, haven't they? So,
I'm just going to add one. I was listening to you. I'm just going to add another one for my top 5. So Dooku, Bib Fortuna, AT-AT driver, and Lobot, because obviously I just was thinking now about the Empire Strikes Back because of the Falcon that's coming out. And is it definitely they're going to be bringing out Slave 1? Is that definite, that one?
This is what I've heard, yeah.
Oh.
So I've heard that the Millennium Falcon's being re-released. I've heard that Slave 1's getting re-released. And I heard, and I'm 99.9% sure that the playset is going to be the Han Solo in Carbonite chamber,
Wow.
So you might get a Lobot in that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Imagine that. How good would that be?
Imagine if that set came with Lobot and an Ugnaught. How cool would that be?
Yeah. Okay, I'll make that my 5th, actually, an Ugnaught. Yeah, because I was about to do... It's funny, Tim, actually. I've got over in this side... I'm looking at it now on the other side of the room. I've got an Ugnaught card. Oh, it's a bit like your friend Quill, whatever. I'm getting it now. Yeah, the Ugnaught. I got this back when I did a few recarding things from Restore Nation from eBay. I don't know if you've heard of them before. I got loads of cards and recarded some vintage 80s, but I never recarded this Ugnaught. So I was going to do a video. I was going to buy a cheap one off eBay and recard it and do a video. But yeah, man, an Ugnaught would be awesome, man. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's coming. And that one's sort of been backed up by Yakface because he was on about a play set for the Empire Strikes Back. And I replied to him on Twitter saying it's the carbon freezing chamber, and he gave me a thumbs up. So
oh wow,
he knows more than everyone else.
Yeah, he is. He's like the.
So that sort of backed up the rumor that I'd heard as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's really
but as I say, I think a lot will be revealed at Toy Fair, hopefully.
And when is that, Tim? When does that happen?
It's the weekend of the 22nd of February.
Oh wow, so that's coming up, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So New York City, huh?
I'm hoping we'll see the card backs for the Mando and whatever before then, though, because obviously they're coming out in March, April. It says April over here, pre-order, doesn't it? So you can imagine they'll start landing in Canadian Walmarts or whatever. Canadians always seem to be getting these figures before anyone else. You know, it's just like one day they just happen to be on the pegs. It's like, oh look.
That's funny.
So hopefully we'll see the card backs before Toy Fair, and then we'll just get some actual new reveals. Because as I say, it has been a bit of, you know, the reveals have been a bit of like, you know, well here's 4 more repacks that are coming in September. Yeah, great. You know?
Yeah, wow, that's awesome, Tim. Well, you know, I can't think of really anything else to say other than thank you for joining me again. It's pretty awesome having you on the show. And do you have anything you'd like to just say to close out, Tim, just before we sort of call it a night?
Not really. Just to say to all the viewers and listeners, just thank them very much for a good year last year. Obviously, both our channels did pretty well. We've got
congratulations, 5,000 subscribers. So. Congratulations again, Tim, for that. It was a pretty awesome milestone to reach, man.
Yes, very pleased, very pleased.
Very good.
Hopefully I can double it maybe for this year. I don't know. Who knows? Sky's the limit, isn't it?
Do it. Bring it on. Well, I'm sure you will if you do that Toy Fair. Then, wow, awesome. And it's going to be a good year anyway. I'm looking forward to it all kicking in, all the products coming out and stuff. Brilliant. So anyway, well, thank you very much as well, you, for listening. And obviously, this hasn't been live, but there has been a live chat. And do you know what, Tim? I was thinking we should maybe try this live one time, maybe. In fact, are you still doing your own podcast? What was your podcast again? Are you going to do that again?
Well, I only did the one live because, but then Google took away Google Hangouts. And
what? Is it gone now? Is it?
Yeah, they don't allow Google Hangouts to live stream, so or like multiple anyway, multiple people on it. So you have to use some software called OBS, and it's a bit difficult to set up on a Mac, and I've got a Mac, and it's better on Windows, so I just haven't had the time to sort it out. But I would love to, because that one live stream that I did with Chris went really well. There's a lot of
you got a little super chat as well, I remember.
Yeah, it's just a good way to engage with everyone, and everyone's live commenting on whatever, and I don't know, I just think it's the way to do it these days, and it's just the tech of it, you know. I'm reasonably techie, but you know, it's just a bit of a ball ache to try and sort it out, really.
Awesome. Well, obviously, I'll leave a link to your channel, Tim, below in the description of this. But if people haven't heard of you, I don't know what rock they're living under, because you are sort of the leading force in the Star Wars community in these current days.
I don't know about that.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for joining me again, Tim, from Bossk's Bounty, and I have been Only One Kenobi. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, of course. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only One. Out.